Hello, everyone, and welcome to Just Lying Around, a Detroit Lions podcast presented by the World of Football. I'm your host, Kyle Sutherland, and I am joined by my co host and brother in law, Adam Snow. Adam, did you get a piece of that humble pie Brad or Dan Campbell was talking about?
Man, look, I'll tell you what. I figured, despite what I kind of my score prediction, I think in our last episode, I figured Seattle wouldn't be an easy out. I mean, Seattle's still a talented team. Yeah, it's a big piece of humble pie, and but you had to admit Seattle played tough, and that was actually a really good game, except for a few things I'm sure we're going to talk about and that you'll probably cry about. So
Well, I had the whole bowl of whipped cream on top as well, but yeah, we'll get into that here shortly.
yeah.
But on today's show, we're going to go over the Lions' Week 2 loss over the Seattle Seahawks and look ahead to their Week 3 matchup against the Atlanta Falcons. But first, we want to thank you for checking out our podcast, whether that's on YouTube channel or on your podcast platform of choice. You can find the World of Football and its many offerings on multiple social media platforms. Just check down in the description. And you can also use our nifty timestamps, also located down in the description. So if you want to jump to a specific topic, we made it easy for you. So now let's begin this wonderful week's show. So we'll jump into it. Lions lose in overtime, 31-37 against the Seahawks. And I will tell you what, it was not good on the defense side. But let's talk about the offense first, because I felt that overall offense did pretty well. Jared Goff, he went through for 323 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, which kind of want to chalk that up as a fluke because I think he was just under pressure, so he just had to get it out. And then we had David Montgomery, who carried for 16 times, 67 yards, also 1 catch for 7 yards, and scored a touchdown. And to me, the biggest playmaker, besides Amon-Ra St. Brown, he had 6 catches for 102 yards, was Josh Reynolds, 5 catches for 66 yards and 2 touchdowns, which I think he did great. Right?
Yeah, a good day for Josh Reynolds, and a big coming out party though for Sam Laporta. That dude
Yep.
was breaking tackles. He looked great. I'm very if there's a silver lining in this terrible loss, amidst the injuries, amidst some baffling play calling and clock management stuff, which we could debate all day, but I think the emergence of Sam Laporta, I'm not saying he's arrived, but just seeing there's potential there, and the fact that he was like ready to just mow some dudes over gets me excited to see him further on down the line here. Like he's going to be something special, I hope.
Yeah, and unlike our last tight end we got, he doesn't fall down after he catches a ball. He actually tries and gain extra yards, so that's something special there.
Hey, what? Hey, leave Pro Bowler T.J. Hawkinson out of this, all right? Like, come
Uh,
on, ain't that dude ain't done nothing to us?
Besides falling down after each catch. But let's take a look at the Seahawks side on the offense. Geno Smith really carved us up. 328 yards for 2 touchdowns. Also had 3 rushes for 20 yards.
Now
Um,
that's the stat that surprised me right there. Only 3 times that he rushed. I thought for sure he had a few opportunities where he had a couple of holes where I'm shocked, absolutely shocked he didn't take those, because Detroit's biggest bugaboo last year was running quarterbacks. And when we were going up against Geno, going up against Patrick Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes had what 40, what did we say, 45 yards last week rushing. We hold Geno to about 20 yards. So I don't know if we've improved or if these other quarterbacks now are just not taking advantage of Detroit's suspect defense and running against us.
yeah, you kind of nailed that on the head. When Geno's got a minute in the pocket each time to throw the ball, I mean, if I were him, I wouldn't want to run either. But
No.
overall,
I mean, I
other
don't
than
know.
that, I was just gonna say their running defense. I mean, it's pretty solid. We had Kenneth Walker. He carried for 17 times for 43 yards. He did score 2 touchdowns though, but like I said, 43 yards out of your star running back. That's pretty dang good. But on the passing situation, DK Metcalf had 6 catches for 75 yards. Tyler Lockett, 8 catches for 59 yards and 2 touchdowns. And the overall, all their tight ends were just having a field day out there. Biggest one was Noah Fant. He had 4 catches for 56 yards. Um, like I said, the other two tight ends as well got a bunch of catches. Yeah. Then total yards, Lions had 418 yards and Seahawks had 393 yards. Want to add anything
It's a
to that?
lot. Yeah, look, I think both these teams are almost mirror images of each other. I mean, everything was practically even. The yardage, about 20 yards apart, or 25 yards apart there. Time of possession, the Seahawks had it for 33 and a half minutes practically. We had it for almost 31 minutes. So I feel like there was a lot about these two teams that were pretty evenly matched. You go into overtime, and had that coin flip gone Detroit's way, I think Detroit could have done just what Seattle did and walked down and scored. I think both those defenses are, while having great players and pieces on there, like Bobby Wagner is still a beast. That dude is incredible.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but I think they were essentially the same team playing each other, because the moment like Detroit would be up, then Seattle would come back. Seattle would be up, Detroit would come back, and it just, I don't know. I kind of want to see the Seahawks again down the line. We'll see, but you got to give them props. I mean, both these teams dealt with terrible officiating. I think both dealt with some suspect play calling on both. Pete Carroll and Dan Campbell and their uh, coaching staffs. Some very perplexing stuff now and then between clock management and just what you're doing in certain situations. I feel like Dan Campbell maybe went maybe one too many times on the fourth down gutsy calls, and I feel like maybe Pete Carroll might have got overzealous and or maybe a little too complacent in a couple spots where I was like, man, even I as a Lions fan could say that the Seahawks could take advantage of some of the stuff Detroit was giving them. So I don't know, not a perfect ball game, but I mean, it's just like last year. These two teams get together, they put up fireworks there in Ford Field, and I don't know. Both these teams, it'll be scary to see them both improve going forward, because by no means was this a perfect game by either team, but seeing the flashes of how good all those units could be for both those teams, both offenses, both defenses, showed flashes of just being absolutely brilliant. But you know, I think Seattle, that coin flip made the game in overtime. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll discuss that in a little bit there at the 2 minute drill at the end of the game. Why we decided, hey, let's finally kick a field goal. But before we get to that, let's talk about this bad passing defense by Detroit.
mm,
And by God, it was terrible. So I think last week, our defensive coordinator decided, hey, let's play man coverage,
he has a name,
and that worked.
Aaron Glenn.
Uh,
You can say his
well,
name.
Aaron Glenn, yep, there you go. And that worked pretty well. But this week, Aaron Glenn decided, hey, let's run man coverage against, I think, well, like the three top receivers in the league, uh, paired together, Metcalf, Lockett, and their new rookie they got, and
Mm.
and you cannot. I feel like you're leaving these wide or cornerbacks on an island trying to defend against Metcalf by themselves. That's why we see Kirby, or not Joseph, but what's his name? Look it up real quick.
Gardner Johnson.
No, Jerry Jacobs. There we go. Getting
Jacobs,
just
yeah.
toasted by DK Metcalf, and Tyler Lockett. Like, and I don't. I felt like Aaron Glenn didn't really change the scheme or make any adjustments at halftime. Like, what the heck is
Well,
going on?
I mean, the whole myth. I mean, I think it's a myth about the adjustments at halftime thing. I think that but I do think that as the game went on, why? I mean, it seemed like there'd be times where they kind of did. Either they tightened up their man to man, or they did play a little bit more zone. Kind of sneak it in there a little bit. Because there were times where I felt some of the coverage was good, but then there'd be times where, like, in certain situations, you got it 3rd and 6, and you're like, all right, we know they might not run, but they got Lockett out there. You got a Metcalf, you got a Noah Fant, you got a Walker the third, in the backfield. What would you do? Like, you would feel like you'd either press them up a little bit, maybe have a safety over the top just in case. But there were times where it was just like they were giving him way too much separation. I don't know if that's a scheme thing, if
Yep.
that was a player just call right there, like, oh, I'm gonna back up a little bit, and it's 6 yards to the sticks, and the guy's catching it, 2 yards beyond the sticks for the first down. They were killing us, like doing those little dink and dunk like that, like just quick out passes. And it was frustrating to watch it, but I feel like this is something Aaron Glenn's always struggled with, if that is the scheme thing, because it always happens. Is it never seems to be like in those situations where you're like, if you have to take a PI, maybe you take a PI, but at least you're up there and you're fighting for the ball and you have a chance of being like, playing physical ball that the refs might let you get away with. Because there was a couple times I felt like the refs did just let them get away with a couple stuff, like let them play through
Oh
it
yeah.
and try to get the ball. But instead, you're practically giving them 6 yards open field to get the first down, and that's where the frustration every time. Because against talents like a Noah Fant, against especially a DK Metcalf, and especially against a Tyler Lockett, where DK Metcalf's going to fight you for that ball. That dude is big and physical, and Lockett, I don't care how long he's been in this league, that dude is dependable. That's why he's got 2 touchdowns in that game. He is sneaky fast. He is able to just get separation, and that is something that I just felt like Detroit underprepared for. I feel like I would have stressed that so much. It didn't help. We had some injuries. Injuries are going to happen, but next man up. I like Jerry Jacobs. I thought Jacobs was solid, and to have everybody crucifying him yesterday, like his name was Will Harris, totally just blindsided me a little bit. But I mean, the dude's got to step
Oh
up and play a
yeah.
little better.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it on Jerry Jacobs. I think you need it. I mean, it's DK Metcalf. You need to send help. Whoever's covering him, send help their way because it's Metcalf's a freaking beast. But
Yeah,
you know
dude's a
what
talent, man.
my favorite play was that the Seahawks ran, and it was a sideline throw to a tight end, and then you look back and you got Houston running after him, trying to cover him. Like, I guarantee you, they're going to run that tape back, and Dan Campbell is going to tell Aaron Glenn, "Don't ever do that again."
Yeah.
It was just some of these weird plays.
Or even having, I saw somebody point this out on X, after the game, that they had Campbell, your rookie linebacker, rushing. This dude is not a blitzing linebacker. He is more of a coverage, run stopping guy, and you're having him, you know, rushing. Like, it was baffling to me. Some of the schemes. It's like they want to run a certain scheme, but the guys they're putting into those situations, it's not their skill set. It's like they're not using
Oh yeah.
these players the right way. Like, Aiden Hutchinson should have had 18 sacks yesterday. He was getting pressure. I felt like we would get pressure, but we could never get home, whether that just be because Gino is that talented and he's got pocket awareness. But there was no reason the Lions should have at least had 4 or 5 sacks, uh, based on the personnel that they had at the tackles on Seattle's offense, because dudes were banged up and they got new guys in there. And the fact that Gino essentially gave you that 1 sack towards the end of the game was kind of not an insult, but it was just like, that's it. That's the 1 sack we get all game long. It's just because Gino was scrambling around for 10 extra seconds. Like, I felt like they should have gotten home more. They just didn't get that pressure that you would think that D line is capable of. And now we're going to be without um, James Houston for 6 to 8 weeks, apparently. So there goes one of your big inside rush guys. So they need to figure out something, scheme something up to get. Hutchinson has been all over the field, and he has no stats to show for it. If you look at the tape, you see the dude's got effort up the wazoo. He's all over that field, but there's no sacks to put on the stat sheet for him, and it bums me out because the dude deserves some.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We can talk about this defense, how they played terribly this game, but hopefully next week against the Falcons, are gonna clean it up. I believe Falcons are more of a running type game, but
And we'll talk. We'll
even
talk
though
about the
they,
Falcons game in a little bit. What
yeah.
else did you want to hit?
So, the side, yeah, you mentioned Houston's going to be out. Let's talk about all these hurt players throughout this game. Um, we had CJ Gardner Johnson, Kirby Joseph, Amon Ra get hurt. Luckily, they all came back, so I'm not too worried about that. We had a couple big names. Vaitai got hurt, Houston got hurt, and Montgomery. It sounds like Montgomery probably going to be out for a couple games for a
Yeah.
thigh injury. Houston sounds like he's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. I think it was ankle, something like that.
I want to say, yeah.
And Vaitai, I think it was ankle or knee too. Hopefully he's not out too long. But luckily we have Graham Glasgow to cover for him.
Yeah.
So, and then we had
There's
a
one thing. I think the
couple.
Lions' offensive line's got depth, so I'm not too worried yet about that. And then hopefully we'll get Decker back soon so that we
Yeah.
can move Panay Sewell back over to the right end of the line. But I mean, Goff did take a couple of sacks, and I'll put it on him for holding it on just a little too long. Maybe a little bit of offensive line issues there, losing a couple guys, but I'm not too worried about that O-line.
Yeah, they got. I mean, even the person that was covering uh, Sewell's spot last or this game, he did pretty well. So yeah, like you said,
Yeah.
I'm not too worried about this offensive line. I mean, if someone else does get hurt and we're down like 3 people out, then I'm gonna start getting worried.
Yeah, you lose a Sewell, you lose a Ragnow, that's when I'm going to get concerned.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Other than that, like I said, offense looked fine. Hopefully, Montgomery isn't going to be out for more than 2 games because
Hopefully,
he
man, he
he
looked
is a
great.
workhorse.
That dude looked great, but
Yeah.
now it'll be the Jahmyr Gibbs show, and we'll see what they do.
Uh,
Him versus
I don't know
Bijan
about
Robinson. We'll
that.
talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll talk about that in a minute. But overall, offense looked good. Goff, I mean, he's slinging it just like in form. Even though he did have an interception for a pick six, I wouldn't really chalk it up to even though it is a mistake. It's not gonna happen regularly. Like it was just one of those
Hopefully not.
fluke
Yeah.
plays.
I mean, it was the third
I mean, if he
longest streak in
keeps,
NFL history. So
yeah, and I mean, I don't know if he keeps doing what he's doing now. I wouldn't hesitate to get an extension on him because right now he's carrying his team. I feel that if a team scores 31 points, they should win a game. Period. Because
yeah,
that's
yeah.
I mean, hopefully this defense cleans it up because you can't really have Goff do everything for you.
Yeah, and you also can't have 3 turnovers during that game. I believe the 3 turnovers led to 14 points. That's a big swing. And so that part's got to be cleaned
Yeah,
up. I mean, you can't open the second half with Montgomery fumbling the ball there and handing it right back to Seattle when that should have been an opportunity for Detroit to go down and, you know, get a bigger lead there because they were up at halftime 14-7. So that could have been an opportunity for them to, go up by 2 scores, and they just missed it. I mean, that was a rough one.
yeah, and also I want to bring up these 4 downs. We keep going for it, and some of those we could be kicking a field goal. So I don't understand why 2 minutes to go at the end we settle for a field goal instead of trying to throw a touchdown to win the game. Like if you're not gonna
You don't
kick a field
understand that?
goal, no, I don't. I felt
Okay,
like
look,
Dan Campbell should have went for it. because
I
if Seattle gets a ball on that coin flip, they're just going to go down and score. Why take that
true.
chance?
So I think the decision was mostly right. I sat there. I was if I was playing Madden and I had that in that exact same situation, I'd have done almost the same exact thing. Yeah, you pin your hopes on the overtime, but the big but here is they just didn't seem as aggressive as they needed to be to get further down the field. It did seem like they got to a point where they're like, okay, now we'll just settle for the field goal. But when it should have
Yeah,
been, we are going to score a touchdown here and give them hopefully zeros on the clock or a couple of seconds. That's
yeah,
it.
that's
But it did get to that point where it did seem like Seattle was kind of locked in. But I do feel like Campbell and them could have been a little more aggressive. But I can't fault them for they were playing not to lose, and I don't know how confident they are in Riley Patterson. Uh, obviously they were confident enough to get that field goal there, but during the rest of the game, during some of those fourth downs, I don't know how confident they are in him to get those bigger kicks. But in that situation, I would have done the same thing. I would have settled for the field goal. I would have played it semi-safe when you only got 20 seconds left or whatever, and you're like, look, let's do one play. It'll run the clock down because Seattle ain't going to call a timeout there. So you kind of play that odds. And like I said, if Detroit would have won that coin toss in overtime, he would have looked like a genius. He would have looked like, I mean, there would have been a little criticism probably, but obviously a win's a win. But it's such a, you know, razor's edge, thing where it could have gone one way or the other that I can't be too mad that I would have done the same exact thing, I think. Other than I probably would have thrown a couple passes to the end zone.
yeah. I don't know. I feel like if they're gonna you're either gonna trust Patterson or you're not. If you're not gonna trust him, get a different kicker. Like we can't
I think
be
they're looking, but
going
who's out there?
that. Well, there's some
And like
big
you got
names
Adam
that could
Vinatieri
go.
in his prime sitting out there on the free agents market. Like
Yeah.
we don't have a Matt Prater or a Jason Hanson 20 years younger, ready to go. Uh, so we just got to
I
deal with what we
mean,
got. I like Patterson, but
I do too, but they need to trust him more because if you're gonna go for these fourth downs and then at the end of the game say, "Oh, Patterson, we're gonna put the game on you," so hopefully you can kick it in, even though
yeah.
uh we haven't asked you to kick yet so far. But yeah, let's. Anything else you want to add to this game?
About this game, like I'm ready to put
Yeah,
it behind me, but I'm hoping that they, learned a few things from this. Dan Campbell, I thought last year got better coaching wise and situation wise as he went along, but I'm hoping this is one of those moments. Like they said, it's a learning. What did they say? It was like a learning experience, and they'll just go from there. So
yeah. Hopefully they get together today. They sit down and film. They discuss like what we got to do to get better on defense, and because this running team Falcons, I think it's going to be a good game for them. Um,
yeah,
Speaking of that, let's go into week 3 versus the Falcons. It is Sunday, September 24th, 1 o'clock on Fox. Falcons are 2-0 so far, which,
yeah,
wow, impressive. They beat the Packers 25-24. Falcons total yards for that game was 446 yards, 235 passing, and 211 rushing, which kind of shocked. That passing number is pretty high. Um,
yeah.
is it
Who's
Ritter?
their quarterback again?
Desmond
Is it
Ritter?
is it Desmond Ritter? Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
I mean, that's impressive for him being his second year. And then, but the biggest thing is Falcons running back rookie Bijan Robinson. He
yeah.
is killing it. Like this guy is a runner. So
Yep.
hopefully,
So I think that's what they're going to focus on this week is stopping the run and keeping Ritter in check. I think that's the key to getting this victory. Look, I'm not going to sleep on any opponent. I'm not going to say this would be an easy win. Detroit should win this game. I'm going to say it again this week.
yeah,
They should win this game uh, at home against the Falcons. Um,
yeah. Hopefully,
I just
go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I just feel like, this is another Seattle situation. I think the Falcons are an improved team. They're a good, decent team. But I think Detroit should, be able to overcome them. And hopefully, learning from this week, they can, put your foot on the gas. Don't give them any opportunities. Play clean, smart football. Do not turn it over and contain Bijan Robinson, because I have a feeling that dude's going to go off. That dude's going to get his. But if we can keep him out of the end zone, and if we can, just keep him in check and not let Ritter look like freaking Matt Ryan, or make him look like Michael Vick out there with the Falcons, I think Detroit will be fine. I think Detroit should be in a good spot.
Yeah, they Falcons have 2 targets they can throw to, really. So I'd like to see them run a little more zone. That way, the cornerbacks, everyone can have their be facing Ritter, because I feel like we can get a couple interceptions off of him. And yeah, they just need to make sure we stop Robinson. Don't let Ritter run too, and hopefully the crowd brings the noise again. And
Hopefully, that crowd seemed like it was something else. Man, I heard somebody who went to the game said that place was loud. So hopefully they bring it again.
yeah, hopefully they let's keep those ski masks in our back pocket for right now until we start winning again.
Yeah, we won't even talk about the ski mask. Look, I thought it was a great, fun idea, but I knew it could blow up in our faces. And as soon as I saw Seattle players wearing them in their locker room after the game, I was like, yeah, that's what's going to happen if you do that. So,
Yeah, that backfired really quickly.
yes, it did. It sure did.
Yeah. Other than that,
anything else? Or are we good to go?
I think I'm good. Hopefully,
All right,
Lions win.
I mean,
So,
I
yeah.
love to. It's more fun talking to you on here when the Lions win. I mean, you didn't do as much yelling and screaming as you said you were gonna, so I'm proud of you. Keeping your emotions in check. I know that's very hard for you to hide all those deep cutting emotions, but yeah, I'm proud of you.
Yeah, let's hopefully we can get this up next Sunday after the game.
Yeah, the only
At
reason
one
we didn't get
o'clock.
it up right after the game is because Kyle was. What would you say? You were half drunk and pissed off.
Yeah, I went bowling the night after before, so
Oh, so
bowling
feeling
two
that hangover, then
fifties.
the loss didn't help. Oh,
Yeah,
brag about that.
just bowling 250s. You gotta celebrate a little bit.
Live it
Yeah,
up, Kyle. Live it up.
let's close out the show here. Adam, you wanna put
All
your little
right.
segment in?
All right. Yep. We're going to close out this week's show. Guys, we hope you enjoyed listening to today's episode and come back for more. Be sure to visit the World of Football's website, www.theworldoffootball.com, for news, links, upcoming events, articles, videos, and more. If you want to get in touch with us, send an email to info@theworldoffootball.com, or you can connect with us by liking the World of Football's Facebook page or following our X account. Those links are down in the description below. Also, be sure to check out our flagship show, This Week in the World of Football, which is up every Tuesday. Randy and I will be doing that again tomorrow. I'm sure we'll talk more Lions, Seahawks, and plenty of other football stuff when we do that show tomorrow. Those new episodes drop every Tuesday. You can find those on the podcast feed or on the YouTube channel, which, by the way, hit 500 subscribers the other day. So we appreciate everybody for following along and supporting us. I know this show is relatively new for our channel, but we appreciate it nonetheless.
Yep. And all right, that's it for this week. And hopefully the Lions come out with a victory. If not, expect a lot of yelling.
Next week.
Podcast.
If they lose, you got to have a bunch of mascara running down your face. That's what I want to see.
Oh, I'm gonna have that paper bag.
Or at least on
ready
one eye,
and,
like Aiden Hutchinson.
But yeah, that's it for this week. Thank you everyone for watching, listening, and remember, go Lions.
Go blue, baby. This blue, Honolulu blue, not the Michigan blue.
Oh, you can root for them too. I'm all right with that.
I mean, I guess you could, but when I say go blue, I mean this blue, not Michigan blue.